Squid Game Season 2 is out and the ddakji man is back. But who is this mysterious recruiter who targets the desperate and dead-ridden people in Squid Game? In this video analysis, we look at the ddakji man from an archetypal and astrological perspective. The result of the episode might be shocking, even provocative, because it shows that archetypes that we might hold dear can manifest in both negative and positive ways, and in positive ways within a negative circumstance. In the season opener of Season 2 of Squid Game, we meet a new Ji-hoon, an angry Ji-hoon. Gone are the days of the quirky, mostly easygoing gambler and dead, who sees the best in people even if there is nothing truly to see. This is a stolid Ji-hoon who is doggedly determined to use every penny he made from the games to end the games. In this endeavor, he's brought together a team commanded by none other than the loan shark he was running away from in the season opener of Season 1. The task of the team is simple. Find the ddakji man, bring him to Ji-hoon, and get him to tell him everything he needs to know about the secret organization behind the Squid Games. Ever since Squid Game Season 1, people have been obsessed with this guy. Who is this smirkingly suave recruiter? What's his story? What's his connection to the organization? How does he rock a suit that well? And can he slap me next? When Ji-hoon's team finally after days of surveying every major train station in Seoul, find him, we the viewer, blue-balled at this point, get to see our favorite death game recruiter do what he does best, which is to beat the shit out of and smack the shit out of desperate, dead-ridden people in a good game of ddakji. Before being utterly manhandled, hopelessly trapped, and sadistically made to play rock, paper, scissors -1 a la Russian roulette against each other, the former loan shark with a 10-carat golden heart turned trusting confidant for Ji-hoon and his second-in-command follow the elusive ddakji man to a park where he offers each homeless person one of two things: a piece of bread or a lottery ticket. The catch? They can only pick one. As can be expected from a show that challenges our basic faith in humanity, all but one pick the bread. As for the others, they grab the coin they are handed and they scratch, hoping and praying for the lucky number 777. Now, the odds of winning the lottery, as all of you know or should know, is basically impossible. Yet that infinitesimally small possibility, illusory and deceptive though it is just too enticing for the hungry and the desperate to ignore. And so they pick the lottery ticket, scratch it, and hope to get the third 7. It's heart-wrenching and frustrating to watch. The ddakji man obviously also finds this frustrating, as evident by him stamping into smithereens the bread they didn't take. As we know by now, he's a man obsessed by choice, chance, and thus duality. From him offering the people to either pick the red ddakji or the blue ddakji, to him offering the invitee to keep the 100,000 won or to join the Squid Game to win way more, to him offering the bread and the lottery ticket. So who is this man? I'm not going to analyze his backstory as staff and execution at the games. Instead, I want us to go deeper into the heavenly heights of astrology and into the watery archetypal depths. As it so happens, the ddakji themselves provides us a hint of the man's true identity. Take a look at them. Am I the only one who's put in mind of envelopes? This is a curious coincidence, for as the ddakji man himself says, I'm just the messenger who delivers invitations. He's the medium, the one to extend invites to desperate people deep in debt to join the games after they prove themselves willing to undergo physical pain and humiliation. He's also willing to deliver messages the other way around, as he tells Ji-hoon, give me the message and I'll pass it along. If we were to associate our handsome ddakji man with an archetype, it would be Mercury, also known as Hermes, the elusive, playful, ever mischievous messenger god who Zeus dispatches with messages to mortals and gods alike. Mercury is also the god of travel and transportation, which is why the Vanderbilts had him as the focal point of their statue group above the entrance of Grand Central Terminal in New York City. And which place is the ddakji man associated with? Train stations. The actor playing the recruiter, Gong Yoo, has Mercury conjunct Jupiter in Leo in the Astrological nakshatra, which is ruled by what? Mercury. Mercury being conjunct Jupiter makes his Mercury very strong. The reason for this is that whatever Jupiter touches is delighted. Kind of like many girls would be very delighted by being smacked by the ddakji, but I digress. Since intuitive casting is a thing, we see this strong Mercury in Gong Yoo play out in the character of the ddakji. He's a highly skilled communicator, a highly skilled manipulator. Mercury is of course the trickster god of communication, with the planet having to do with games. The planet thus also rules rules, which is why that a person with a good Mercury, despite perhaps being quite the trickster, will always follow the rules, which is exactly what we see with the ddakji, who follows the rules of his own game to the bitter end. While Gong Yoo is not an Astrological native, that is, doesn't have sun, moon or ascendant there, he does have Mercury in this Mercury-ruled nakshatra, hence why I think it's worth mentioning. People with a prominent Astrologia are self-restrained, possess quite a blasé, non-caring attitude, and have an inclination towards deceit and manipulation. Despite of, or maybe perhaps because of, this nakshatra being the most feared nakshatra, it's highly seductive and can lure you in with its hypnotic serpentine charm. And indeed, the symbol of Astrologia is the serpent, which represents Kundalini and hidden wisdom. In the Bible, the serpent of course leads Eve and Adam into the death by successfully tempting them into eating from the tree of knowledge, thus prompting God to expel them from Eden so they no longer can eat from the tree of life that has sustained them so far. Likewise, the ddakji uses his devilish charm to tempt financially desperate and ignorant people into joining a game where they will surely die. Having looked at the astrology, let's move into a Kabbalistic and tarot analysis. In his Thoth Tarot, Aleister Crowley associates Mercury with the sphere of Chokmah, the second sphere upon the Tree of Life, which is really where duality occurs, because this is where we leave God behind. It's the creation of polarity, it's the separation from the divine. At the same time, it's our way to God, hence why Crowley links Jesus with this sphere and also with Mercury. Like Mercury, Jesus is also a mediator. As he says, I am the way, no one comes to the Father except through me. Both Mercury and Jesus are associated with business people and with thieves. Mercury is the god of thieves, and Jesus had relations with the money changers, and his first disciple was actually a tax collector. Note the saying in the Bible, the Son of Man comes as a thief in the night. Now, our ddakji is no Jesus, but archetypally he plays a similar role to Jesus and Mercury. As Jesus and Mercury are the messenger of God, whether we call him Yahweh, Zeus, so the ddakji is the messenger of Il Nam and the frontman who takes on the ownership and leadership of Squid Game later on. Both Christ and Mercury are shepherd figures associated with the guiding of flocks, Mercury being the psychopomp guiding the dead into the afterlife, and Jesus guiding the dead into heaven. As for our ddakji, well, he guides the sheep into slaughter, the living into death. Ji-hoon's goal is simple. Find the ddakji, get him to tell him everything he needs to know about the organization. But what would Squid Game be without a game? To get the information he needs, he must win over the ddakji in a game. Granted, it's not a children's game, but a game of Russian roulette. Still, despite their lives being on the line, we see that childlike glee of Mercury on the face of the ddakji as they proceed to play the game of Russian roulette, handing the gun over to each other as the tension rises and the odds of being dead by the next pull the trigger increases. His love of risk is furthermore evocative of the Magus card in Crowley's tarot. The Magus is associated with Chokmah that we talked about earlier. Chokmah being the second sphere, the way from God and to God. In the card, Mercury is depicted playfully juggling various symbolic objects while balancing himself upon the holy mount known in Egyptian cosmology as a tomb. In his analysis of this very card, Gerd writes, Mercury balances with great skill on the tip of a surfboard-shaped stand. He moves on the narrow border between white and black magic. That is to say, between good and evil, because the magus stands above morality and thus can fall either way. As for the ddakji man, he chose evil for good, pun intended, when he put a bullet in the third eye of his father, a fate he's been flirting with ever since he started playing Russian roulette. If you live by the sword of Damocles, you'll die by the sword of Damocles. Or in the ddakji man's case, by the bullet of Damocles. Thus, the ddakji man exits the show in what is effectively creative suicide. Irrespective of his villainous personality, by going along with the rules of the game he himself came up with to the bitter end, the ddakji man admirably shows his strong Mercury, a Mercury he's admittedly used to send who knows how many to the slaughter, all for the entertainment of a few psychopathic billionaires with a cringe sense of humor. The very Mercury that now sends him to the afterlife. There is a poetic justice to this, a justice I'm sure didn't escape the ddakji man as he pulled the trigger. The stabber and well-groomed monster done away with, Mullah Man Ji-hoon can now focus on ending the true monster of the show, the organization itself. Thanks for watching. What did you make of the show? Were you happy to see the ddakji man return? Maybe a bit sad to see him go? Whatever your thoughts, whatever your opinions, whatever observations that you made about the ddakji man, about Ji-hoon, about the episode, I invite you to crystallize your consciousness in the comment section below, to smash that like button, hit the bell notification icon, and I'll see you in the next video where we analyze Squid Game Season 2, Episode 2. See you then.